Jabiru world, made of these qualities, and in this world, in the soul are also wounds. There are wounds in your soul. These wounds are places where your imagination has encountered bad things. And those wounds in your soul create a certain type of limitation inside of you. And those I call dark veils of the soul. There's also another type of wound, and it's not really a wound, but these are called the light veils of the soul. And this is different than the dark veils of the soul, where this is where the soul has touched like incredible love and says, oh my God, the love is so amazing here, I never want to leave it. So in the light veils, veils of what? Divinity. In other words, if you stop with divine love, you stop short of God. If you stop with divine beauty, you stop short of God. You see the beauty of God, which is an attribute, but you don't see God itself. You stop short, you stop below it. We call those veils of light. It means you're getting enamored with light. In the stations of the soul, the main issue in the stations of the soul is enamorment with the light veils. That's the main reason people don't go past the soul levels, is because they get enamored with the veils of light. What that means is they see, oh, it's so beautiful here, I never want to leave it again. One of my students years ago, we were meditating actually in Egypt at the time, and she opened this door from the Malakut into this Jabiru world, and she started to get visions. And the visions were so powerful that she said, oh my God, I've reached enlightenment because these visions are incredible. And for the last 25 years, she has not had non-stop visions. She's had visions for 25 years. But what happened for her is she got enamored with the visions, and she stopped with the visions rather than continuing on her path to God. So she didn't reach unity and did not reach enlightenment, but stopped before it because she got caught by the visions. Okay? This is the problem with the veils of light. Now, in the veils of light, what I want you to understand is that, and this is what the whole teaching is about this afternoon, is that the lower aspect of these veils have to do with sight, inner sight. But the upper aspects of these veils have to do with knowing. Okay? So if you're going to reach into the soul world, part of your journey into the soul is your ability to see the soul, the lights and these little mushroom images and these qualities. That's what you get. You have the light of the soul, you have the qualities, and you have these imaginal images. The first level of soul walking is your ability to reach the soul reality, which is an ocean of light. It's very subtle. To enter into it, to see the divine names, and to see these imaginal forms that live within the soul reality. That's what, if you want to get to the soul, that's what you have to be able to do. Okay, this is the world of the soul. This is what's inside there. All right, so it's not the world of the unseen. The unseen, the Malakut world, also has images, also has qualities, it has images, astaghfirullah, has qualities, it has forms inside of it and emotions. All this lives in this world as well, and also down here it has images, it has feelings, and things like that. But these images and feelings are different than these images and feelings, and these are different than these. These are the most subtle. Okay, so if you want to enter into that world, you have to be able to let go of your attachment to this world and flip your consciousness into that world and establish it in that world. You have to maintain it. You have to maintain it. Meaning not, if you fall back down, which is very easy to do, many people do it, you've dropped your consciousness. Now, somebody in this world can go to here at will. Once they establish it here, you can drop to any of these worlds whenever you want. But you're going to live up here. If you live here, sometimes you'll see this world, but most of the time you're here. If you live here, sometimes you'll see this world. There might be moments you see this world, but 90% of your energy is going to be down here.
Well, why did you call it the light veils?
Because the veils of light are not bad things. They're not like wounds or darkness or anything like that. The veils of light are actually attributes of God, like divine love. But it's Allah Yawadud, meaning it's God, the love. God who is the attribute of love. Now in Sufism, you want to reach to God because it's the reaching to Allah that's going to free you. I mean, that's the final level where you enter, where you become realized in the nature of God itself, right? And if you stop with a quality like divine love, you're stopping short of God itself. And what happens for the majority of people is that they travel through this world until they hit the light veils. Once they hit the light veils, this is where it gets very dangerous, because now you start to experience powers. Sometimes people start to manifest miracles. Sometimes they become amazing healers. Sometimes they become incredibly attractive to people in the sense that their light is so beautiful that they become charismatic. Sometimes their wisdom grows. Some of the Alim shows up. They become very wise. And what ends up happening, because there's still the egoic self is still here, they attach onto these things, and on the attachment to it, they get caught by it, and then they end up cycling in the quality, the light veil they attach to it. Oh, well, I am so loving because I have all this love inside of me, and from God, Wadud, I have reached. I am with Allah, I'm with God, but in fact, they've actually stopped. You see, and this is the danger of the veils of light. And believe me, many in our talk, in the 20 years I've been teaching, there have been multiple people that stopped here over the years. So this is not something I'm very aware of in our group. And it's into all groups as well, not just ours, any group traveling.
Well, I mean, it's a very common thing in life, too.
To get caught with the
Whatever
your veils of light are. Yeah, they used to be called LSD. Today it's called ecstasy. I don't know what is, I mean, if people get caught by these, they open up these things, they get caught, they see it, they have the experience, but then they don't travel. In other words, they stop with that experience. And one of my friends years ago, back in the 80s, late 80s, he took some acid and had an experience. He said, I am God. I've reached the knowledge of God. And he never got past that experience. He lived in that experience for 30 years. And actually, he just died last year. And for 30 years, he carried that experience of remembering his nature of God, but he couldn't transcend past it. In other words, he got locked in by the experience. Okay? So your work, my work, everybody's work is ultimately we have to cross through these three worlds. And the final world up here is the world of God, which this world of God is also a world. It is a reality. We say it's the light of the heavens. It's the heavenly reality, if you want to use a Christian term. The heavens are the light of the spiritual world. There are 7 levels in the godly reality that are called the 7 heavens. We call them 7 levels, doesn't matter. But the bottom line of it is these 7 rings of light are the reality of God. Where God's major manifestation is in the 7th heaven. In other words, God's appearance is in the 7th heaven. Yes?
In the Sufi path, do you anthropomorphize God at all, or is it just like a neutral force?
What does anthropomorphize mean? Do we make it like a person?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, kind of like.
I don't know, kind of like big guy with a white beard. No, we don't do that. Hopefully we don't. Some people do. But no, God is, I think from where we are here, we can just say that, some people say God is consciousness, but I prefer to think of God as light. I think that God appears to each human being how God wants to appear. In other words, that some people he shows up as light, some people shows up as a form, some people shows up as a woman, some people shows up as a man. God can appear to anybody as God wishes. And God chooses the form to appear to a person because that's what they need. In other words, if you're only going to worship this type of thing, God might appear to you in that form. Okay, so God appears, God can take any form God wants in its appearance. Okay, so the bottom line is, for those of you who are seeking to cross into the soul, here's some of the steps you need to think about, because this is going to be necessary for your crossing. Okay, first of all, number one, do you know the lights of the Jabiru? This is a very subtle light, so are you cognizant of that level of awareness? Are you aware of it? In other words, can you cognize, can you have awareness of that subtle world? Okay. Secondly, within that subtle world, are you cognizant of the divine attributes? Meaning, can you see them? Can you feel them? Can you taste them? Are you aware of their sounds? Are you aware of their nature? Are you aware of their feelings? Are you aware of what they are? Because they exist there. That's the world. That's the ocean. It's the ocean of the divine names. So are you aware of it? Okay. Third, are you aware of the imaginal forms? Okay. The imaginal forms are the images that have been created through the realm of imagination in that world. Now, I call those imaginal forms, by the way, impressions. My word is impressions. And impressions, the reason I call it impressions, because in this world, what happens is these imaginal forms are impressed into the soul. They're pressed into the soul. So there's a sense of pressing them onto the consciousness of the soul. So we say they're impressions because they are images that are pressed, or impressions, images that are pressed into the soul level. So you have impressions, okay? And finally, the issue of, and this is really what the lecture is about, the issue of what I call metaphorical, I shouldn't say me, I should say Sufis call metaphorical images, which are images not impressed through your humanity, but are actually images that are sent down from God that are impressed onto the soul level. There are two types of images. There's the images that we have picked up in some way from ourselves or others, and there's divine metaphorical images that are impressed into the soul and carry divine knowledge. All right, so the metaphorical images are the divine impressions that your being has to cross through in order to reach the final level of God and make your fana, meaning to annihilate out of your own soul, to let go of your attachment to your soul and the consciousness of your soul, and to enter into the consciousness of God itself.
Could you give us an example of the imaginal versus the metaphor?
Okay, sure. Actually, let me hold for a minute on that. I'll come back when we do the demo with it, okay? Okay, so good question. All right, so the point of all this is that if you're going to cross through this world, the only way that I know to cross through it, and there may be other ones that I don't know, but the only way I've known, and I've looked pretty deeply at many traditions, but who knows, that it's through divine meaning that the Jabarut is completed. All right, in other words, the Jabarut world is completed through the understanding and expression and vision of the metaphorical images. Okay, so if you want to reach the unity or have your enlightenment or whatever you'd like to call it, you're going to need to cross through and understand the metaphorical images with their meanings to be able to complete your phenomena. Okay. Now, the metaphorical images and their meanings are read through the Ma'arifa. All right, so the fifth piece here is the Ma'arifa. Ma'arifa means divine, the knowing of divine knowledge. Or knowing of divine knowledge means the ability to read the metaphorical images and understand them via God's essential light. Alright, so if you want to know and to cross through your phenomena, you have to open up in the fifth station of the soul, which is, you remember, the fourth station is you have 7 stations. The first 3 are below, the second 3 are above, fourth station is the pivot. In the fourth station, you pivot out of divine, out of soul sight into soul knowledge. So it's at the fifth station that you enter into the world of Ma'arifa, and you begin to actually understand the metaphorical images. So the bottom line of it is that your job, should you choose to accept it, is to enter into the world of the Jabarut, to recognize the ability to know the divine attributes that appear in that. Within the divine attributes, to see the impressions of these divine mushrooms that are impressed upon those attributes. Okay, and that's step number 1. And then step number 2 is to be able, through the Ma'arifa, to access the divine metaphorical images that are actually the healing or the rectification of these illusionary false impressions. The metaphorical images of God are the reality that transforms metaphorical impressions into truth. The truth of God. So if you want to reach Fana 21 or 28, Fana Filah, this is what you're going to be doing, is in essence is embodying the meanings of the metaphorical images of that level that transform the illusions of impressed truth so that you can go through the state of annihilation.